You must surrender your intelligence. Intelligence doesn't open you the field. Intelligence stops the openness. So the highest intelligence is to see the limit of the intelligence. The highest intelligence is to surrender intelligence. But the longer I want to understand, I project in intelligence an ability which it doesn't have. Intelligence cannot see things further than the mind, further than the memory. But what I'm looking for is unknown. It can never be found in memory. But intelligence has no access to the unknown. Intelligence has access to memory. When I see that in a direct way, not intellectually, but I experience it directly, in the body level, the dynamism to use my intelligence to try to understand what is beyond intelligence, stop. You can still use your intelligence if you're a trader, if you're a businessman, if your intelligence has some role to play. But you discover what you are deeply intelligent, you must surrender. Grace is the only way. And grace doesn't come from you. It comes through you when you open. Intelligence is not open. Intelligence is full. Intelligence occupies the mind. So intelligence must surrender, so the mind becomes more empty. In this emptiness, Christ can unravel. But you must simply see the perspective and forget you've seen it.
Eric, can I ask a couple of questions? So the first one is, it's a little paradoxical and frustrating because on the one hand, we can't do anything, so we can't surrender, we can't direct the course of anything, and yet the instruction is to surrender. So that's always like, but how do I surrender? And then I'm always told, oh, but you can't surrender, you have to like let life kind of, you have to hope that life surrenders you in a way.
No hope. No.
So there's no hope even.
Hope is hopeless. No hope. Surrendering means seeing that you don't surrender.
Okay, fine.
When you see you not surrendering, that's called surrendering.
Okay.
When you see your assertion, that's humility. But you can never be humble. You can never surrender. You can never meditate. So you see what stops you from meditating, going here and there. What stops you from surrendering, refusing, pretending, trying. So again, it's simply to see the fact. But it's not that you have to accomplish something. Surrendering is not something you do, it's just what happened to you when you see the fact. Just see how much you refuse in daily life, how much you pretend to know, how much you assert things, how much you defend, how much you want to be loved, you want to be understood, you want to be respected, you want to be listened to, and so on, and just simply again to see the fact. And of course, in this seeing the fact, you may encounter the way you function, maybe to stimulate this alertness. Maybe proper food will become functional, and proper body listening may be proper reading may be functional, getting rid of the TV may be functional, stop reading love novel may be functional. Many things, but that come as as an evidence, not something that if you do that, you're going to listen more. But in listening, you may realize that food is a poison and they don't need to poison you, that cooked oil is a poison, they don't need to poison you, that salt is a poison, they don't need to poison you, and so on and so on. But that discovery which go along the listening. So we hardly talk about it because first it's very individual, and then it is normal. The way you live must be functional, the object you live with must be functional, the way you sit must be functional, the way you put your bed in a room must be functional. Of course, but that's prolongation of this listening. So you relate to people must be functional. So the way you relate to love and to violence may be functional too. There's not only love in life, there is violence. Or you relate to violence when somebody hates you very deeply. How do you function with that? It's very important to see. And somebody pretend to love you, how do you function with that? So all these things are just a prolongation of listening. And of course, they're different for everybody. We must all eat in different way, we must all live in different way. So there's no one set of rules like in the Yama and Niyama, which is very pretend to be universal, but actually it must be adapted. So it's not a Yama and Niyama who come with the fantasy of rising up to a certain level, but a Yama and Niyama would come as an expression of listening. And yes, there are certain things at some point you don't do anymore because not because it is wrong, but because it doesn't stimulate you anymore. A certain activity, you may stop falling in love, you may stop going dancing, you may stop watching TV, you may stop reading the newspaper, you may, or not. If it is your job to listen to the TV, to watch the newspaper, why not? But the compulsion to live as most people live disappears, and so your life becomes very specific. The way you eat, the way you breathe, the way you sit, the way you decorate your house, what is in your library. It's specific. You don't have the last novel, you don't have the last concours, you don't have the... No, you have books we talk about life, we talk about beauty, we talk about openness, we talk about surrendering. So all the energies, in a certain way, are going in that direction, but as a result of listening, not as a mean to listen. That's what is very important. So in Patanjali, Yama and Niyama are the first steps. In Kashmir Sharif is the last step. Because you have understood something clearly, that you realize they don't need to grab anything, they don't need to lie, they don't need to pretend, they don't need to... But it's an expression of clarity. It's not a way. An ego cannot be egoless. So the idea that the ego should not do that, should not do this, just create more tension. Ego is egotic, that it is very natural. It must be welcome because it is a fact. Welcoming the fact, or the attention reduce, and we become more and more intimate with how we function. This intimacy, the openness with intimacy, is entering the path. And from that intimacy, listening will spread in many walks in our life, and then the expression of this welcoming may be expressed itself in the form of Yama and Niyama, but it's very individual. The duty of a Kshatriya is not the same of a Vaishya. The duty of a Shudra is not the same of a Brahmin. So what is right for one is false for the other. So we all have different tendencies. So we cannot compare. In our Western society, everybody should do the same thing, but it makes no sense. If you're a Brahmin, your sexual life is restricted to your wife at a certain period of the moon. It's part of your duty to keep certain kind of purity, to study the text. If you're a Kshatriya your sexual life could be very, very, very different. Nothing is better. So in our society, people are judged by some criteria. It's better to live like that or like that. It makes no sense. Some people are meant to live alone. Some people live with one person. Some people live with many people. There's no rule. The rule is to listen, and this listening, something will unfold, which is your own way. It's not the way of your neighbor. It is your own way. Nobody will ever be able to understand it, even yourself, but you follow what is natural. So change will come from listening, not from rules. That's very important.